So, hello everyone. I welcome you to the next Beyond Reality podcast episode. This is a special episode series from the Three Dice conference. And today I have amazing guest Navjeet Chhina with me. And he's the CEO and co-founder of Nucleus 4D. But before he was working as a land development builder, let's put it that way, went through the XR studio. So quite a career, quite a experience. So very happy to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. Yeah, speaking about your life journey, maybe it's best to give it to you. So maybe you can describe it, how you get from actually being a builder or working on a land development and construction to actually getting to the space where you are currently with Nucleus.
Yeah, sure. So I'll give you a quick journey. So I started my career in land development. So my family has a land development company. We bought and purchased land, built custom homes on that land, also built apartment buildings. So did that for about 8 years and built 100 homes and apartment buildings. Total value is around $200 million. So a lot of experience in land development. But near the tail end of it, we're really getting to doing architectural visualization and renderings for some of the clients that we're building homes for. They really wanted to see okay, I have this empty plot of land, but what is my home going to look like after the fact?
Yeah.
And throughout building, I love building because, it's 0 to 1. You start with a piece of land and then after there's a home or an apartment on it. But I really fell in love with the architectural rendering and the visualization part of it. So I decided at some point, okay, I'm going to give up this career and I'm going to I moved to Los Angeles. And the first thing I did was I started a fashion metaverse back in 2016.
Wow.
It was
a kind of pioneer,
yeah, it was way before its time. So people were still used to getting shopping on Amazon and we're trying to convince them to shop in 3D. So that didn't really work. And so, but there's a lot of interest in 3D, especially from Fortune 500 and big brands. And so I decided to take the team that we had and all the expertise that we had built and start a XR 3D innovation studio. And so what we did was basically build custom 3D AR, VR projects, mostly for enterprise and Fortune 500. And so, it landed in a really nice spot and a very opportune time in about 2017 when the big brands were really just starting to look into this stuff.
Very cool. And that was basically the Genius Innovation Lab that you co-founded and were the CEO.
Yeah. So that was Genius Innovation Lab.
Nice. And maybe speaking about that particular experience with the XR, because I saw that you work a lot with the Meta and, had huge clients for the Fortune 500. So maybe can you mention some of your biggest, or doesn't have to be biggest, but your favorite project?
Yeah. So we did a lot of cool projects. I think some of our favorite ones would be landing around the 3D commerce experiences. And so we did projects for Walmart and Wayfair. We'd build digital versions of a store and basically be able to do shopping inside that store. But it was an Unreal Engine scene where you have a living room and you can swap out sofas and rugs and coffee tables. And not only could you look at them in a hyper-realistic environment, but you're also able to then purchase directly from the website.
Nice.
Yeah.
And did you guys use the pixel streaming for that, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we used pixel streaming. So then, they're very large scenes, but we wanted to deliver them to anybody on any device. We didn't want you to have to buy a gaming computer to view our experience. So we pixel streamed it out so it was available on a mobile and web browser, and you're just able to explore it freely.
Nice. And so during the time, what do you see is the biggest shift before we move to Nucleus? What do you see in the XR is the biggest shift before, or right now and before? If you compare 2017, 2016 with 2025.
Yeah. So the journey of XR, 2017 is just beginning. And then, 2018, 19, a lot of big brands really got excited about AR, VR, especially with the advent of, I think Pokemon Go was the first thing that really opened everyone's eyes to AR. And they did it in a way where, the technology was secondary to the experience. And that was what was really good about opening the world's eyes to AR especially. VR's been around for a long time. It's gone through a lot of ups and downs and VR winters, as they call them. But AR caught a lot of hype, and that's when Meta Spark released their Spark Studio, and Snapchat released Lens Studio, and Eighth Wall released their platform as well. And so in those years, it was really good. A lot of brands want to start experimenting with what could AR do for us, right? And I think the challenge in the very beginning was there's a lot of focus on just the artistic part of it, like putting butterflies in the sky or flowers on buildings. But it was beautiful and it was cool, augmenting your world, but it didn't drive a ton of business value. And so what we really focused on was driving business value with augmented reality and virtual reality. And that's why we tied it to, commerce type experiences.
Yeah.
We tied it to personalization type experiences and, building virtual rooms or building virtual dealerships or virtual stores and being able to purchase from them. So that was really great. But what we saw back then was there was a lot of use cases that were up in the air, just what happens with every industry. People just like to throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, right? And so back then it was a lot of experimentation. What can happen with AR? What can happen with VR? What can happen with 3D? And what I think's happened, what happened in the last few years was a lot of those experiences started driving to tangible business use cases. How does this drive business value for my business? How does this move the needle in terms of efficiency for my business? How does this move the needle for generating revenue for my business? How do I cut costs for my business? And so when we really started getting into the bigger type projects we were developed, it was a lot focused on driving the needle in terms of business metrics and not just driving the needle in terms of impressions or views and things like that, where, it's great, especially on a lot of platforms where you get a lot of views or impressions, but it's not converting into actual revenue, or it's not converting to business value.
Yeah, I think this is such a huge thing in the XR topic that a lot of the folks are looking on the development side of it, on the technical side of it, and let's make something beautiful. But as you are saying, you should always, or at least that's what we learned, that you should always look in the bigger picture, like where it drives the return on investment, like where it drives the value back. So
exactly, because as well as I do, a lot of these experiences to develop, just the raw cost of developers and artists and QA and testing, it's not cheap. And so for a brand to spend from $50,000 to, we've done projects that are over $1 million, they need to see that what they invested actually drives results, and not only for the person who commissioned the project, for the brand itself, right? It's the person who commissions these projects, they might be out of a job if they spent $500,000 and it doesn't really do anything for the business.
100%. So thanks about that. And maybe just before we move, like, how did you see also? Like, I would be super curious. Like, how do you see like the whole metaverse hype during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about it right now if you're looking back into that?
So the metaverse hype during the pandemic, I think it was because of the pandemic, right? I think that's why it came about, is people were looking to have experiences and do things that they could only do while sitting at home. And I think the metaverse was a novel concept, but it wasn't ready for the everyday person. For people that were into gaming, for people that were into, technologies like Web3 and blockchain, it was this cool, new, exciting thing where you can explore these worlds. But once again, is just exploring worlds is not enough. It doesn't, it doesn't provide a ton of value for your day-to-day life. There's only so many worlds you can explore and random game items you can purchase that doesn't tie to your actual life. When you're in Call of Duty and you're amassing items and you're getting skins or doing things like that, that's adding value to your character and how you're leveling up in the game. But a lot of these metaverses, there wasn't like an end goal to the metaverse. It was just creating an experience for the sake of creating an experience, right?
Yeah, they forgot about the fan.
Yeah.
And about like being in the game. Like, as I always said, like, you need to start like being being relevant and fun for the users. Like, when you look at the Roblox, when you look at Fortnite, like, why these metaverses stick? I mean, of course, they are like 2D flat screen experiences, but it's about that the users go there, Call of Duty, like, and they are having that daily dose of fun. They're spending their hours because of its fun, and afterwards they do purchase skins, build houses. But if you turn it around, Doesn't make any sense.
Exactly, and I think the key thing that they did there was they built really good communities where it wasn't just a place to explore or play, but they made new friends and they, met people around the world who shared similar interests as them, right? And you can have a million different metaverses, but if there's no reason to come back and great, you can explore, but there's nobody to talk to, or there's no community around it. But as you said, the most popular metaverses that are around are like Fortnite and Roblox and Call of Duty, where you're not just playing a game, you're doing something that you enjoy, adds value to your life, you're building connections, you're meeting people around the world, and there's progression. There's continual progression happening, either in your development of skills or earning points or skins, or I've been hearing there's a lot of ways to monetize these things now too, right?
Yeah, because like these younger generations, they put the same value, or sometimes even like bigger value on digital assets compared to the real ones, which is crazy. Which is like for the older generation hard to grasp around.
Exactly.
Buying a Gucci bag or some other item which is purely digital for more money than the actual one. So
exactly.
So I think that's it. And okay, so and you get from this very experience wise worlds like at the Genius Innovation Labs to Nucleus. Tell us about that part of your journey and chapter of your life, Karan.
Yeah. So Nucleus was a fusion between my my earliest career, which was land development, building homes and apartment buildings, and back then I saw a big downfall of what you saw online for the media for a home or an apartment. It did not match reality. There was photos that were done in a wide angle lens that made the room look a lot bigger than it was, or the ceiling look a lot taller, right? And then there's also things like Matterport, which is great at the time back then, where it's 360 photos where you can move around a home. But the thing with Matterport, the experience is very limited. It's kind of like Google Street Maps, but indoors, right? You're hopping around from place to place to place. And once again, you get the distorted views, you get distorted angles. You kind of get the sense of space, but it's not like you're actually there. And for a lot of older people too, they get nauseous with that type of movement, just jumping. And so, that was some of the things I had noticed back in 2015, 16 when I was finishing off my career there. But at Genius Innovation Lab, we also built dozens of projects that were digital twins of buildings. So it was a digital twin of an apartment complex that was being built, or a digital twin of a dealership for a automotive brand, or a digital twin of a retail store for a major retailer. And the way we were building this previously was, in Blender, 3ds Max, we're bringing it to Unreal Engine. So the way to experience it, you need to have a gaming computer to run this. And then we started actually using technologies like pixel streaming out of Unreal Engine or render streaming out of Unity. But once again you get these beautiful big scenes, but the cost was $2 per user hour. So a small brand couldn't just make this, or a realtor couldn't just make this. First of all, they'd have to pay thousands of dollars to get the home built piece by piece from artists building it by hand. And then you have to pay $2 per user hour to stream it. So, each home, just on the media itself, building the home is going to cost you $5,000 to $10,000. Then streaming it out to the hundreds or thousands of users that might look at the home, that's going to cost you thousands of dollars. The marketing budget for a home or for a realtor, it's not $20,000 or $30,000. That's more than their commission, right? And so, and the same thing for buildings and dealerships and stores is the big brands could afford it, but it wasn't relevant to the everyday user. And so when, the research paper in August 2023 came out about Gaussian splatting, a way to scan your environment and bring it into a lightweight model that you can view, we're like, okay, this is the future. One, we're solving a problem for ourselves at Genius Innovation Lab where we can, instead of rebuilding an environment by hand and spending months just to rebuild a store or a home or an apartment complex, we can just scan this. And now I also realized I was solving a problem in my previous life in land development. I was like, this allows you to actually see a space and tour a space as if you were there. But what we need to do is put this into a web-friendly format. And that's where the concept of Nucleus was born. Go anywhere in the world, see any space in the world as if you were actually there, on the web, on your phone, on your computer in a web browser. It doesn't matter if it's an iPhone 8 or a Chromebook or a high-end gaming rig or an iPhone 16. Any device, view any space anywhere.
It's pretty amazing. So, a little, not little, but actually big competition for the Matterport in the future.
Yes, that's our goal, right? I think Matterport, it served a very good purpose on showing the world what touring spaces in 3D could look like. But, that's not true 3D. It's 360 photos stitched together. And so for this current generation, we touched on Roblox, we touched on Fortnite, we touched on Call of Duty earlier. They're used to they're used to seamless movement and jumping around.
They love to run around.
They love to run around. And so with this platform, this next generation of buyers that's coming up, they're going to be expecting more than hopping around space to space. They're spending, dozens of hours a week running around with freedom of motion. And so this is what we think touring real estate should be like. You don't need to actually visit a space or go to a space physically or hop on a plane or get in your car to go view a property. You should be able to view it seamlessly in the same medium that you're already used to. One, if you're a gamer, but this type of technology and ease of use is coming to everyone. Everybody wants to save time and money and effort these days. And so that's what the concept of Nucleus came from.
I love it. And you also mentioned that you are building some interesting overlying layers, such as with a call with a real estate engine. They can take you through the space. I think you can say more about that, because I think that's exciting.
Exactly. So, the touring a space as if you're there, that the technology Gaussian splatting enables that. So we think, reality capture and Gaussian splatting, that's going to be table stakes in a year or two. A lot of companies are going to have the ability to scan a space and tour around it freely. And so if we stay just doing that, it's not going to stay as a competitive company, right? But there's a lot of layers of value that you can build once you have a hyper-realistic, high-fidelity 3D environment. So the first feature that we built is it's a live guided tour inside of the 3D digital twin. So one of the biggest problems in real estate is, if you're looking at homes as an end user or the consumer that wants to buy or rent a home, you have to drive out, get in your car, get dressed, drive out to each of the homes that you want to buy or rent. And for a lot of people, on average, it's 15 to 30 homes. So that's 15 to 30 trips, at least an hour to 3 hours per trip, depending on if you live in, a busy city. I know, when I lived in Los Angeles, to get from one side of Los Angeles to the other during traffic, that's a 2-hour trip. So imagine going to look at a home, go spend half an hour looking at the home, 2 hours there, half an hour at the home, 2 hours back. That's a 4.5-hour trip. And so with Nucleus, for the end user, it's how can we built this feature, so how can you go tour a home without actually having to drive there? For the realtor, the same thing. They got to get dressed, drive to the home, kick the family out, show the home. Yeah. So we built this live virtual tour, which is essentially like Zoom or Google Meet in the actual home. So I load the home, I send you a link, you join, and we're both now on screen inside of this home. And you can ask me questions and say, hey, Nav, take me to the kitchen, or what's the size of this cabinet, or what can fit inside the living room. So now it's like being actually there. And this actually came from what we learned during the pandemic as well, was the highest converting form of media for real estate was the FaceTime tours, where a client calls the realtor and they're just showing them around the home through FaceTime. And so we're like, why don't we combine 3D tours with the FaceTime tour? And now the realtor doesn't have to hold his hand up the whole time and show him every nook and cranny. You can just show him on the computer, right?
That's pretty impressive. Well, cannot wait to try it, So,
yeah.
And maybe looking more in the future, what do you see will be for the not only XR but for what you are doing with the Nucleus for this industry? What do you think is gonna be, let's say, near or mid short-term future?
Yeah. So for us specifically, we're also generating marketing videos out of these 3D digital twins. So we can install a virtual cameraman or a virtual drone inside the virtual home. So now we can make any type of video that a videographer or a drone would do. And it's, very dangerous flying a drone inside of a home. So for realtors, we're also making unlimited marketing videos. So not just making, one video of a home where they have to get a videographer to come in, they have to plan their shots. If they're shooting in 16:9, they have to make sure that when they're filming that the center of their view is where they're filming because it's going to go on TikTok after, and then they have to go home and edit for hours just to make one video. So now from our digital twin, we can make 20 videos, 30 videos in the same time it takes to make one video. So for realtors and brokers, this is unlimited media from a digital twin. Mm-hmm. But what we want to do at Nucleus is have a way to talk to a space, talk to a building, ask questions. Just like we ask ChatGPT questions, I want to be able to talk to a home. How many windows are in the home? You know, what's the nearest exit out of this home in case there's a fire? And then in the future, we're also currently working on space planning. So how do you take a room, add sofas and rugs and furniture? How do you remove items from a room and replace them? But we want to have an interface just like ChatGPT where you can talk to a home and say, you know, ask questions of it, what's in there, but beyond just talking to it and asking questions is tell me what type of sofa and TV layout looks good there, and then just putting it inside the home.
Well, I cannot wait for like having some proper XR headset, which we already have, like Apple Vision Pro. I like even in the future, it's gonna be better and better, hopefully, and having this hyper realistic home viewings in the headset with a real estate engine on the other side, and seeing kind of homes from all around the world.
And I think that's the end goal of what we're doing. You know, that VR and AR, like we said, they've gone through their ups and downs, mm-hmm. but now the Vision Pro for the first time showed like just a glimpse of what is going to be possible, right? And, you know, Apple's announced their Apple Glass that's going to be coming out. They're going to have a lightweight version of the Vision Pro. Meta's got Project Orion. Mm-hmm. So I think the form factor is now getting there where it's not just VR, but it's going to be mixed reality headsets where just like putting on a pair of Ray-Bans, now you can experience everything. And just by, the form factor is finally getting to a space where you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a headset. You don't have to wear this big, heavy thing on your head. And I think that's what's going to get everybody in the world on this, where you can just put on a pair of glasses and experience the best of what 3D has to offer, but in a very simple way.
I love it, and I cannot wait for it. So thank you for having a chance to talk about it, and all the best luck with the Nucleus, and thanks for being on Beyond the Reality podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate it.